So we are in Oklahoma City, and it's just a huge honor to be podcast interviewing the entire staff, the entire team of Reflections Dental Care. So Reflections Dental Care, founded in 2004 by a fresh graduate from the College of Dentistry at the University of Oklahoma, Dr. Schmidt, and he's sitting next to his lovely wife, who's a hygienist. Then we have two more hygienists. Then we have marketing man. We have you just got accepted in dental school. How long have you been out of dental school?
10 years.
10 years. You're a freshman in dental school. How long have you been out of dental school? 12 years. You're Dr. Schmidt's assistant, personal assistant. You're front office, and you're a dental assistant. So I got everyone right. So Dr. Schmidt had actually just finished an extra year study completing the prestigious and highly selective Advanced Education of General Dentistry program at OU. After consulting with an experienced dental practice transition attorney, dental CPA, and dental practice consultant with over 90 years experience in dentistry combined, he bought a practice at the age of 28. After highly overpaying for this practice, he then proceeded to work 7 days a week for the next 3 years, moonlighting at other clinics in addition to his 4 clinical days a week at Reflections. He even mowed his own lawn and did the weekend cleaning during that time just to keep his head above water. Finally, after 3 years of abject misery, you talking about your marriage or the dental practice? Struggling just to make ends meet, he and his wife Stephanie also worked at the clinic as the sole dental hygienist, were finally able to write themselves a paycheck. He then proceeded to flip the traditional startup model on his head. So usually a young dentist goes into a partner with a dentist nearing retirement at their practice. In Dr. Smith's case, he hired one to come work for him. In the process, he met a lot of his loyal patients, and when the other dentists were ready to retire, Dr. Schmidt merged 3 practices into one and soon hired his first ever associate dentist. Which one was that, you or? Neither one of you. After deciding to focus on growth and developing leaders within the office in 2012, the practice has grown 220%. They have a team of 18 people, including 3 total dentists, 3 full-time hygienists, 4 dental assistants, a variety of admin personnel, and even their own marketing director. Also joining us today, in addition to, and at the request of their commander in teeth, oh, I love that, are some key members of the team. Joining us are both Associate Dentist Dr. Kimberly Greenlee and Dr. Marie Bocas. Dr. Bocas earned her doctorate from University of Oklahoma and is married with 3 young kids. Speaking of which, she actually enjoys treating children and providing that service whenever possible at Reflections, thus extending the life expectancy of the other doctors by at least 10 years. Dr. Greenlee earned her undergrad at Texan Christian University, but added her dental doctorate initials also at the University of Oklahoma. Married with 2 boys, she practiced dentistry for over 10 years and really enjoys a good root canal. Also joining us today is Executive Assistant Kenzie. You're Kenzie. Hygiene Team Leader Nicole. Nicole, there she is. Her partner in crime, Betsy. Front Office Team Leader Lindsay. Nice. Acting Dental Assistant Team Leader Ebony. Current call, take, and transfer, but future student at OU's College of Dentistry, Allie?
Allie.
Allie? Allie. So your name's Allie, but it's spelled kind of Ollie.
Yeah.
Like Muhammad Ali?
To throw you off.
Are you a boxer?
Nope.
And finally, their in-house marketing director, Chris Lamb. Chris Lamb, whom I assume wrote this colorful introduction, and I am so jealous of your man bun. And well, congratulations. So how long have you been out of school? You graduated what year? 2003, and this is 2018, and when we do our podcast, 25% are still in dental school, like this man here. What was your name? Blake. And you're a freshman at OU?
Yep.
And where's that, Norman?
No, that's in Oklahoma City. It's right down there.
It's right.
About a mile and a half.
Oh, it's down in Oklahoma City, by the Thunder Stadium.
It's over towards the worst part of town.
The worst part of town? Well, actually, the worst part of town is the best thing for dental schools. It's really the best thing for dental schools because what they're starting to do, like you go to Kansas where they had KU Medical Center. Well, it's just little bitty Lawrence, Kansas. You're not going to see very many cases there. So they're trying to move all those medical schools and dental schools to Wichita or Kansas City. Like I was in downtown Kansas City. You need a lot of people to see a rare case. So you want to be, you want to be where there's the most people, and the crazier the better, and because you're not going to see trauma in a retirement community. They don't get in fist fights and bar fights at the trailer park and all the retirement communities. But in Arizona, but anyway. So 25% are still in dental school, and the rest are all under 30. I mean, I only get one email a week, and I always say, email me, howard@dentaltown.com, and if you want to listen to me, I have a face for iTunes, but if you want to see Man Bun, you should subscribe to YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/Dentaltown Magazine. But what advice would you give to these kids in dental school, 15 years out, building this super successful office? Well, how would you tell them to proceed on their journey?
God, that's a really huge question. I would encourage them to really find their passion, their niche within dentistry, whatever they love doing. If it's orthodontics, if it's cosmetic dentistry, if it's kids, really figure out what it is that you want to do, that what really makes you happy in dentistry, and just go for it.
So what was your passion?
I loved cosmetic dentistry and implants. I finished dental school, my requirements about 6 months early, and I would go into the implantology clinic and just volunteer to do work, and so that's why I did the
residency. Are you restoring implants or are you placing them?
Both, yeah.
You're both?
Yeah.
And what system did you go with?
Implant Direct. We started with Zimmer, and then we switched over to Implant Direct about 10 years ago.
And why did you switch from Zimmer, which is...
Primarily it was cost. I could see that they were made by the same person, made in the same manufacturing facility, it just had a different name on it and a much lower cost.
So you thought Implants Direct was making Zimmer's implants?
Well,
or they were cloning them?
Well, yeah, it was a clone of them. But it was actually, initially they were being made in the same facility that Zimmer had to move out of.
Yeah, and now Zimmer just put their entire dental implant division up for sale.
Is that right?
Yeah, but yeah, Jerry Nizdick, we did a podcast with him. He's an amazing man. I think that was his third dental implant company he started. Right. Yeah. He started one and sold it to Dentsply.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, and then he started another one. But that's your passion, is placing and restoring implants?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah? So what are the other, so you said you like children?
Yes.
Yeah? So did something go wrong in your childhood that makes you like working on screaming children, or?
I actually loved going to the dentist as a child and had a really good experience in the dental office. And so I wanted to help kids, and I love kids. So it's my goal just to make them have a great experience.
That is so cool. I mean, if I had to be a pediatric dentist or go to hell, I would go to hell. And, I'd rather be the night manager at the IHOP. So it's really cool. Because some people don't like blood and guts. They come out of dental school and they say, no, I just want to do the white and fluffy stuff, Invisalign, bleaching, bonding, veneers. And then some people like blood and guts. Like, I love wisdom teeth, surgery, implants. I like to get a scalpel and lay a flap. That makes me happy. And but that's really cool. You like kids, and because pediatric dentistry is huge success, because back when dentistry was pretty much an all-male profession, I mean, like in the animal kingdom, male lions and tigers eat their kids.
Exactly.
When a polar bear gets pregnant, she has to ditch her dad because dad's not going to chase a seal when his baby's laying there. He thinks Domino's just delivered him dinner. And so it is. I mean, you can't talk about the difference between men and women without you being accused of sexist, but there are factual scientific reasons that in the animal kingdom, only men eat their children. And so that's really cool. Are you doing any silver diamine fluoride, or have you been looking into that? Or
No, I have not looked into that, but that's a good idea.
Well, I don't know. It's the only controversy in pediatric dentistry. Like, most of the professions don't really have any controversy except for occlusion. And then it's just an open free for all of craziness. It's like 10 major world religions out there, and none of them agree. But in pediatric dentistry, that's their only controversy. And I think what it is some people just like to paint on this stuff and every 6 months and delay it, and some like to just take them to the OR and put them under and do 6 pulpotomy and Crohn's still crowns, which is amazingly awesome and all that, unless you're that one kid every 3 or 4 months in America that doesn't wake up from the OR. Oh, yeah. And then it's just a complete tragedy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what's your passion?
I like root canals.
Nice.
So, yeah. Everybody always says, I would rather do a million things. And, a root canal is always portrayed in the media as the worst thing that can ever happen. So I enjoy trying to give that service in a comfortable manner.
And you don't have to sell it. They come in pain. I mean, you got to sell bleaching, bonding,
yes.
veneers. I mean, every time I go get a haircut, they're always trying to teach me, sell me, implants and wearing a wig and a rug and all this stuff. But you gotta sell cosmetic stuff.
Yeah.
But root canals, it's such a service thing, know, and it's and I think it's dentistry's most embarrassing. I mean, I think if someone asks me what is the worst thing about dentistry in America, it's real simple. 8% of emergency room visits are odontogenic in origin.
Yeah.
Because they went to some dentist in pain and he can't pull it and he can't do the root canal. I mean, imagine if you broke your leg and the ambulance picked you up and took you to hospital and they came out there and said, I'm sorry, we don't do legs. We just do arms and ears and noses. And you're like, and there's 9 specialties, endo, perio, pedo, oral surgery, oral med, but one of them is public health.
Yeah.
So when these dentists just decide that they don't do extractions or root canals, then America gets stuck with the bill, 8% emergency room visits, and that's on average $1,500 a visit, and all they're giving them is Vicodin and Pen-VK. You're still at square one.
Yeah.
So do you like extractions too?
I do.
Nice.
And one of the things I love about working at Reflections is that we offer a variety of care. Dr. Schmidt likes cosmetics and implants. Dr. Bacchus does pediatrics. I like extractions and root canals. And so just like you're saying, we can triage those things for each other and the patient can get all of their needs taken care of. And
so are you probably too young to know what your passion is. What are you thinking it might be?
I like surgery. Just from the short time I've been around it and the little bit of exposure I've had to it, I love the surgery part of it, so implants and that sort of thing.
So of the 9 specialties, who makes the most money? Oral surgeons. What are they doing? $411,000 a year each. Why? Because they pull the teeth and they place implants. Biggest money. Who's number 2? The endodontist. Who's number 3? The crazy lady with cats that likes kids. Pediatric dentist. You will by the time you're my age if you keep doing pediatric dentistry. But the most important thing you should focus on in dental school is marrying one of the women in your class because...
I'm already taken.
You're already taken? Is she going to be a dentist?
No.
Ah, man. Did you sign the contract?
It's not done yet.
Really, back out. Just back out and go back. Back out. Go back to the drawing board. Because if you could marry someone that makes $10,000 a month, that's always a good deal.
That is a good deal.
And because if you marry her from 25 to 65, $10,000 a month, $120,000 a year, 40 years, that's like $5 million. And 70% of the kids in your class, they'll marry a girl who spends $10,000 a month. So after 40 years, that's $5 million. So the difference between her spending $5 million and her earning $5 million, it's a $10 million delta. So when you're looking at that woman, I don't care how cute she is, she ain't worth $10 million.
Trying to work out a deal right now where she takes care of that $200,000 in student loans, though. She's got a job, so maybe she can take care of that.
But it's true. Women, it's really true. We were talking about difference between men and women. Women marry in all cultures, from Asia, Africa, Latin America, Central America. All women marry with their brain. They always marry up to socioeconomic ladder. They always find someone smarter, richer, whatever. So the men, obviously, at the other side, they have to go down. So the men, I mean, you could be the valedictorian of your dental school class, see the waitress at the Waffle House, and just marry her that day. And it's like, really? You married the waitress at the Waffle House? You were in school for 4 years of dental school, and half the girls were going to be called a doctor, not a dishwasher. And they married the dishwasher, and it's like, and they always tell me how beautiful she is, and it's like, I know she's beautiful, but she ain't 10 million beauty. I mean, there's but anyway, that's my regret in dental school. And so what is your passion going to be in dental school?
I don't want to pick one yet.
You don't want to pick one yet because you haven't started?
Yeah, but I am passionate about going somewhere rural when I'm done.
Nice.
So, yeah. I've spent a lot of time in rural communities doing not dental work because I'm not allowed to do that yet, but just seeing like the lack of everything. And so finding a place where I can be most useful. And also that goes to learning how to do a little bit of everything. So when someone comes and there's not an endodontist for miles, they can still get treated. So
nice. Yeah. I mean, you have when you're rural, you are public health.
Right.
You're the one-stop shop. The best way to get all that research is, the nonprofit trying to push the dental therapist. That's Pew Research. So they've done all the demographics. They've gone through all 50 states. They show you every city without a dentist. So you can go open up Arizona. So what happens is half of America lives in 147 urban big cities like Oklahoma City and Tulsa. The other half of America lives in 19,008 towns, and 2 out of every 3 dentists goes to the city, and only 1 in 3 goes to the other half. And from Texas to Canada, up this little tornado alley, from North South Dakota all the way down, just about 10% of all the small towns don't have a dentist. Yeah. And so when you find that small town of 1,000, the draw is usually times 2 or 3, because when you're in rural, Mama just knows that to go to Walmart, you're going to get in the Ford 150 truck and you're going to drive an hour down the 2-lane highway. Right. It's no big deal. And then those dentists who open up in that parking lot of like a Walmart, the first day they're open, what percent of the county knows that a new business is open there? Every freaking, no marketing needed. Right. They don't take any PPOs, HMOs, whatever. So they're all like $1,000 for a crown, $1,200 for a canal. And so every dentist I know that comes out of school in the first year did $1 million and took home $400,000. They found a town in Iowa, Kansas, Nebraska, Arizona. They were the only dentist, and it was a town of 1,000 or 2,000 and a county of like 5,000 to 6,000. Right. And it was just like shooting ducks. It was like shooting fish in a barrel. Right. I mean, it's just amazing, and it must be a good feeling to provide something where everybody wants you.
Yeah, that's the goal. Just to be, I chose dentistry because I wanted to have a practical skill that could help people. So
nice.
That's the end goal of the whole thing. So, yeah.
Very cool. So now your business model, you did mergers. Tell them how you grew this. Like you bought mergers and acquisitions and rolled them into one office?
We did. We originally bought the practice in 2004. There was an existing practice in the building, and we loved the building, and we bought the practice because of the building itself.
So you bought the practice and the building?
No, well, that's the funny thing is the bank wouldn't loan on the hard asset, the building itself. They would only loan on the blue sky, the practice, which the practice did not end up performing as expected, which prevented us from actually buying the building for a few years. Yeah, so I can't take credit for the idea of flipping the business model and bringing in an older dentist. Our financial planner gave us the idea.
How old was he?
How old was the dentist?
Yeah. When you say older.
Maybe 65.
Oh, good. I'm only 55.
65?
I thought you were going to say he's like 54. He's really old and almost dead.
Yeah. I thought he was older than that.
Yeah, maybe 65 plus.
Okay.
We'll say. He was coming up on a lease renewal near us, and he didn't know if he wanted to practice for 5 years. That's what the lease was going to say. So we gave him a soft landing in our office. We had a lot of room to share space. And he came over. We cohabitated for a little while, for 2 years. Had our own staff, our own computers, our own everything, except we shared some things like the sterilization lab and the waiting room. And then he said, you know what, I think it's time. And so he worked for another year part-time as an associate, and then we phased him out. And about that same time, we were also in discussions with another dental office near us about purchasing his practice. And it wasn't really the right time for us, but it had to be the right time for him because in his office complex, they had a fire, had a lot of smoke damage. He was either going to have to rebuild or move, do something really, really big. So we just said, come on, we'll figure out a way to make it work. So we ended up rolling another practice into ours pretty soon after acquiring Dr. David's practice. It was a mess. It was really, really hard at first. I mean, culturally, we were very, very different. A lot of those patients that Dr. David had met our office along the way. That part was easy, but just bringing in another practice on top of the merger was.
And what year was that?
Really stressful. 2012, I think, 2011, somewhere around in there.
So how many practices have you bought in your lifetime?
3.
And you're in for one location?
Yeah, in one location.
And I always thought that was interesting. By the way, was the fire started? Was the hygienist having a cigarette in there?
Maybe.
It's always the hygienist smoking in the break room. I mean, every dental office fire, it's always, that's one. But anyway, you just have to tell them to go outside and smoke. And not in the break room. It's really weird because in Wall Street, M&A activity is huge. I mean, every gosh darn month, people are buying each other, and that's how they get so damn big. And then in dentistry, people just don't use that. But 100% of all dental offices I know that got to the $3 to $4 million mark is because every time an old man retired, the option was this. It's like a piece of pizza. So say this is a town of 10,000, and there's 4 dentists in this deal. These 4 cups, and so this guy's going to sell. Well, the biggest nightmare would be to sell to some young whippersnapper like you with all this energy and enthusiasm, and she wants to be in the parade and go to the schools and do all this high energy shit that all the old people like me are like, nah, I'm too old and fat, forget it. So if you just buy this, now you're down to 3 offices. So a lot of these guys started off in a town of like 10, and then every 5-6 years some old guy retired, and then like 40 years later that city of 10 now has 5, and his practice is doing 4 or 5 million. And plus it's that with humans, it takes a lot of trust in dentistry. Because like me, I grew up with 5 sisters. So I played Barbie dolls till I was 12. When the engine light comes on, I mean, it's the idiot light for me. I mean, the guy's sitting there telling me about my lifters. I don't freaking know what a lifter is. I mean, and he's telling me all this shit, and you just have to have faith. That's what it is, just pure faith. And when he's telling me this shit, I mean, I have nothing to bank it on. So I always take it to the dealer. And where I have faith is that the guy who, when I took my car there in 2004, now it's 2018 and the car still works. I got 150,000 miles on it. That guy's there. When I met him, he was like, he wasn't married. Now he's got 3 kids, so I have faith. And so when you're selling the invisible, when someone tells you, oh, you don't need a cleaning, you have gum disease, you need a deep cleaning. So I'm just trying to look at you to like, are you lying? Are you a sociopath? Are you genuine? So the things that are for trust are like, how do I trust you? Well, if every time I come in and get a cleaning, it's a different hygienist. If it's a revolving door. But when I sell my practice, I'm old man McGregor, and I sell to you, and I tell my patient, I could have sold this to 20 different people, but this is the one I wanted to take over my patient. So boom, trust. So in a small town, they say, oh yeah, he retired and he wanted the younger dentist to do it. So they all come in with trust. They were all referred. And when you're selling the invisible, it's simply a game of trust. Because when you look at the national data, pretty much it's about a 38% treatment plan acceptance rate. So when a hygienist tells 3 people, oh, you got gum disease, you need deep cleaning, only 1 in 3 does it. And they might all have insurance. So they're like, deep clean, I just want to get my teeth cleaned. So they either don't understand or they didn't trust. So I think M&A activity is amazing. And that's, do you know anyone else in Oklahoma City that's bought 3 practices?
No.
Enrolled them into 1? Yeah. That's why I was really excited at podcast. So what other lessons have you learned from M&A activity?
The culture is everything. When we merged the practices together, it required us to take, all 3 offices, 2 of the 3 were very, very insurance driven. So they were signed up, they were taking every insurance contract known, and they were seeing patients that really valued the price and maybe not exactly the high level of service. Now they were getting great service, but I think the value was not what we're trying to do in our own office. So we knew when we acquired those practices, it was more of an acquisition than a merger, because we don't take a whole lot of insurance plans, and we're trying to sell trust. We're trying to sell a high level of service, and we knew we'd lose quite a few patients, and we did. But we kept a lot of patients through those. So do you take Delta? We take Delta Premier. Yeah.
Delta Premier.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah.
So no PPOs. No Medicaid.
Take them. You're not in network with them.
Yeah.
So explain that. You take them, but not in network. So to explain that.
I'm insurance dumb by choice, so someone else's. This is why I have a great team around me to explain these things.
Again, you got a quarter of the audience in dental kindergarten, so they don't even know. They don't even know those terms.
So even though we're not in network with most all plans, we're in network with Delta Dental, PPO plus Premier. We file with all insurance companies. So we do receive a benefit from most insurance companies. It just wouldn't be as much of a benefit if they went somewhere else.
Okay, but explain to a senior in dental school. You're talking to thousands of them right now. What does in network, out at network mean?
So in-network is you're contracted with that insurance company and you agree to accept what they allow you to charge. So if you are charging, well, you have to write off the difference. So some insurances have very low allowables, which means for a crown, for instance,
Give some examples. Like what do you charge for a crown?
Okay.
And what would if you were in network for these PPOs, how much would you have to adjust off and accept?
So for one in particular that I can think of, their allowable for a crown would be about $560.
$560.
We charge it's $1228 for one of our crowns.
$1228. Mm-hmm. But that's only if they play for the Thunder.
Right.
That's only if they're an NBA All-Star.
We are.
So you charge $1228 for a crown. So so one of the insurance you said was $550.
Mm-hmm. So
yeah. So the average. So back to my homies in dental school.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got out of school 30 years ago, I would my crown was 30 years ago $1,000, and all the insurance companies would just pay a percent. They just say, look, pay 100% for cleaning exams, X-rays. They pay 80% for root canals and fillings and half on crowns. And then over the years, it turned into, no, we're not doing that. We're going to give you the fee. Mm-hmm. So the United States has seen about a 42% reduction in the fee. So basically, for that average $1,000 crown, a 42% reduction would be basically $600. You just had an example of $550, so it'd be like $650. But it seems like what's happening, and by the way, one of the most confusing things for our international viewers and for kids in dental school is that the international viewers, they don't realize that in the United States, very few of the laws are federal laws out of Washington, D.C., and most of the laws that apply to dentistry are at the state level. So it's not like when you say Delta Dental, there's 19 different Delta Dentals. Mm-hmm. And you can't, so you're thinking of that in dental school like, oh, well, Delta's like McDonald's. Everywhere you go is 2 LB patties, special sauce, cheese, lasagna, sausage. That's just total bullshit. Yeah. But what they're doing, though, is they're starting to say in many, many Deltas that, well, if you're not in network, then just to screw with you, that I'm going to send the money to the patient. Are you seeing that yet in Oklahoma?
Yes, a little bit, but we're not quite there yet. I mean, they do pay to our office. They just pay at a lower percentage, and then the patient is responsible for the difference. So
now they're trying to, because I don't want, we're supposed to talk about religion, sex, politics, or violence, so let's just start with politics. Well, what it is, they've, the liberal mentality has never tried to help you. They always try to control you. Like when you're poor, they didn't want to say, well, here's $300 a month to help you pay rent. They're like, oh, no, you're going to live in government housing. And then it's like, they're not going to say, well, here's $100 a month to help you with groceries. No, here's food stamps, and they can only buy certain things. And in dentistry, Delta, it's just typical Democratic Party where they're trying to control you. So it's like, it'd be a nice subsidy to say, hey, that filling, we donate $100 toward the filling, and if you want to go to this guy who does a silver filling, which lasts twice as long. I know dentists don't want to believe it because they're completely insane, but one filling is metal, and it's half mercury, and the other half is silver, zinc, copper, and tin. Silver diamine fluoride, antibacterial. Hygienist stannous fluoride is tin ions. The whole amalgam is antibacterial. I mean, it's half mercury. You'll never find mercury in a multivitamin. And, right? That was a good joke. It's a damn good joke. You're just looking at me like, and then the other one is plastic and inert. I mean, if you went behind the dumpster at KFC to a homeless man, passed out on vodka, and said, what lasts longer, the tooth-colored plastic fork or the metal fork from Mama's drawer? A homeless man would say, well, the metal fork. After 8 years of college, you'll say, well, it's the plastic one because it bonds the tooth together. So basically, the insurance company would say, here's $100 towards filling. And if you go this guy over here putting metal fillings where the average silver amalgam filling in America lasts 38 years, that's your choice. But if you go to a cosmetic dentist man, you want a tooth colored filling where the average one in America lasts 6.5 years, we don't care. We're not trying to control you. We're just trying to help you. So here's a housing allowance. Here's a food allowance. You know, they're not giving you a subsidy so that you can go to General Motors and decide, do I want to apply it to a Chevy or a Pontiac or an Olds or a Buick or a Cadillac? They're trying to control the whole industry that everybody's going to get a used car. Everybody has to live in government housing. Everybody has to have food stamps. It's just control, control, control. And so what we see in Deltas and insurance companies now, they're starting to send the money to the patients, because the patient gets a check for $800. I mean, 3 minutes later, they got, a bag of meth and a new bong, and they're on their way to Disneyland. And then by the time you call them on the phone and say, that's not your money, it's all gone. And so anyway, how'd we get on meth and Disneyland and a bong? So insurance. So yeah, I think dentists should draw the line in the sand. And here's another thing. So back to politics, what they do is big industry always gets cozy with the government. And they the red line in the sand is, all the insurance companies can talk to everybody about prices, but if you and I talk about prices, then we go to jail. And so the dentist, it's kind of like the boiled frog. You put a frog in the water and you turn on the heat, and if you don't raise the temperature of the water more than like a degree every 30 seconds, you can bring the frog to a boil, because he has to have a rapid change before his nerves fire and he jumps out. So it's the boiling frog phenomenon. So the dentist peaked out at about 2005 at about $217,000 net a year, and they've been sliding down $3,800 a year. So last year was about $174,000, and I don't know how long it'll go before they had enough, because it's a grueling job. I don't know how low it will go before they finally jump out of the pan, but. So you're the only guy I know in Oklahoma that bought 3 practices and rolled them into one.
I'm sure there has to be more.
Yeah, but I'm not aware of any, and neither are you.
Yeah.
So he must be the only one.
Yeah. What's that? Yeah.
So he must be the only
one.
Yeah.
So you're 41, and or do you think you'll do it again? I mean, do you think you'll M&A a 4th, 5th, or is your wife draw a line in the sand and said 3's the limit? You got 3 kids, 3 practices in one. Is three the line in the sand?
I learned a long time ago that there is no line with him. He, if there's a line, he's already past it. But when you look at this is what he loves to do. He loves dentistry, but he loves the business side of it too. And he's creative, and he enjoys that part of it, and that feeds him and drives him. And so I would not, I've learned long ago that that's not, yes, he values my input, but I don't put any limitations.
Nice fine. Nice fine.
As long as we're still eating.
Your next book, Lance, says How to Find a Wife Who Has No Limits, and by Lance Schmidt. But that's one of the hardest things to gauge for a dentist personally. Like some people do the sex thing. They'll go in and they'll say, women, they don't want to be a mom and run an office. They'll just want to go be an associate, leave at 5 o'clock, go home and play mom. But that's just too overly simplistic, because it doesn't matter what the average woman in America thinks or the average boy, because whenever you're dealing with someone who has 8 years of college and is a doctor. So I'll give you another example. So statistically, understanding statistics, let's say you said 65% of boys like watching MMA, and say only 25% of girls like MMA. Well, so statistically you might be able to predict the MMA fighters, but the bottom line is, when you look at MMA fighters, they're like 99% boys. So it doesn't matter what the average is. So girls with 8 years of college, and it's just going to come down to, they always ask me, if I want to be a good mom, what should I do? And I said, well, it's very simple. You either love business or you don't. You love children. I love my 4 boys. Now I have grandchildren. I got a lot of grandchildren. I love my grandchildren. I sure shit don't want to do a pulpotomy on them. You know what I mean? You know, I draw the line with my love. You know, comes out of chrome steel crown. So what I always tell the dental student, you got to look in the mirror, man, because if you hate business, if you don't have a flair for marketing, if you don't have a flair for leadership, if you don't have a vision, and you just want to crawl under a rock and drill, fill, and bill, then be an associate. But she nailed you right out of the gate that people like us who like business, it's a creative thing. It's like painting, art. It's just a game. You know, do you guys like business? Do you like business? Tell me what your views are on business. Because you got 3 kids.
I have 2.
You have 2. She has 3.
I have 3.
She has 3?
Yeah.
So she's smarter than you. She has 1/3 the overhead than you.
True.
You should have stopped at 1. And no, Ryan's my 3rd child. That's why I always tell everyone to stop at 2. And he's dead inside. Don't worry about it, Ryan. But anyway, so you had 2 and you had 3.
I had 2. And so that's why I do not have the passion for business like Dr. Schmidt does, but this is a great role for me because it allows me to do what I love to do, which is work in the practice and help patients, and then on my off time, I get to be off.
Yeah.
Be with my kids.
So where do you get your creative flair? Is it root canals, kids? Is it
I like root canal. I really have a passion for trying to make people comfortable in a dental setting because so many people avoid dentists, and you know, I feel like a good number of patients have horror stories, and so my passion is just trying to turn that around and make it a comfortable.
But I got to tell you one thing about the horror stories. So for the last 50 years, the strongest evidence for a jury was an eyewitness. I mean, we get Megan to show up and say, I saw him stab him, I saw him shoot him. Well, now all the research is in, that is absolutely the worst evidence. So they got all these hidden cameras, and they're in a place where, yeah, it was a red pickup truck, and a white guy jumped out, and then you're like, okay, dude, the camera, it was a black car, and it was a midget, and you just, like I've been a dentist 30 years. I have a patient every 6 months tell me that in order to get the tooth out, the guy had to put the knee in his chest, like, okay, well, I've never met this one dentist who goes around the world putting his knee in everyone's chest.
He's been in Oklahoma a lot.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to tell you is that all people are batshit crazy. Yeah. I'm probably the only normal person you're ever going to meet in your life, and so all those horror stories, you know, they're all grains of salt, or you know. But you just like getting them out of pain.
I like getting them out of pain. Yes.
And what does your husband do? Is he in healthcare too?
He's an attorney.
He's an attorney. And what does your husband do?
He owns a lumber yard.
Yeah.
Several. It's
so interesting how all women dentists, their husbands all have jobs. They're all attorneys, dentists. They own companies, and no, I'm telling the men they get a lot of creative luxury because when your husband owns a business and is an attorney, you don't have to freaking kill yourself in that dental office. But when you marry the dishwasher at the waitress house, who looks really good in a pair of Jordan Dash jeans, what's the Harden, and she had Chanel 5 on, and she had the front of her hair curled. If you turned around, there's like a bird nest in the back, and so I know she had the curl thing and the odor thing and the blue jean thing. But I mean, it's just amazing how every time you meet a woman dentist, their husband has a job, is an attorney, is a dentist, is a physician, owns his own damn business. And then the man says, and then every male dentist I met, they always say, well, you should have seen her 20 years ago. She was so hot washing them dishes. But anyway, and what's your thoughts on that?
Well, as I said, my husband does own a family business, and I've seen the hard work that it takes to run a small business.
Yeah.
And I'm just not business-minded, and our family couldn't handle 2 small businesses. So the associate position is perfect for me in that regard.
Now, does he love the business side of it?
Well, he does. They're actually
You're not selling me.
He's selling his business because he decided he doesn't want to do that the rest of his life, and his dad is retiring. Yeah. But he is a businessman, and he likes it. So yeah.
Because a lot of people a lot of people live their life for someone else. Like, you know who, any of your dad's dentists? Any of you dentists, dad's a dentist? Your dad a dentist? Your dad a dentist? Some of the most miserable dentists I ever met in my life. I mean, the rock bottom ones, their dad was a dentist, their mom was a dentist, they just felt like they had to be a damn dentist. And, you know, so their only unique life was to be lived for someone else's life. Right. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you know, so many people, and a lot of men think, well, if I don't own my own business, everyone's going to think I have a small pee-pee. And, but if I own my own business and I drive a Ford 150 pickup truck that's 3 feet off the ground, they're going to think I'm very well endowed. And then they do things that it wasn't them. And I always tell people, this is the question you asked me in dental school. Here's the confusing question when you're 25 and under. They're girls. So they got all this massive biology. I mean, what's the only goal of a species?
Reproduce.
Reproduce, have offspring. I mean, if you don't drop a frog, we're all dead, right? And so they're torn. Well, if I drop a frog, I want to be a good you know, mom. What's a better mom? A stay-home mom? So I'm an associate. I would just work 3 or 4 days a week, or I own my own practice. If I just want to be a really good mom, can I own my own practice, or do I need to work for Heartland, Aspen?
I think absolutely they can run a business and be a good mom. I think it depends on what your passion is. I think you have to have the drive and the foresight, and just like you said earlier, if it makes you want to crawl under a rock to make these business decisions, then that's probably not for you. An associate or a Heartland or a Aspen or something along those lines might be for you. But if you have the drive, I think, and that's your creative outlet is to run a business, you absolutely can do that. I have lots of friends who are very successful business women and very successful moms. I don't think one precludes the other. I think all of us moms have a passion for our kids, so we'll do right by them. So whatever your passion is outside of your children, that's what you should pursue. And that's what you'll be great at. So
I think that's profound advice, and also great advice on divorce. I mean, so many people are like, well, I don't want to divorce because of my kids. Like, your kids want a happy parent. And if you're miserable at Aspen and you're miserable married to dad, get divorced and start your own business. I mean, what kids want is they want to see their parents happy. And they'd rather go visit dad happy and mom happy, you know, so just, you know, you only live once. Absolutely. And then we all retire to the same size coffin. And, you know, so, only the ones. So I want to ask you some other questions. So, are you the office manager too, or are you mostly doing dentistry? Do you have an office manager?
Yeah, Kinsey is my right hand. We could not be as great as we are without Kinsey's presence. She does so much.
How good are you?
Apparently, I'm pretty good.
So you know, a lot of people say, you know, half the dentists think this, half the dentists think, and I always say that's freaking awesome. Can I see the data? Because, you know, we have a website. We have a 250,000 website. Anybody that starts a thread on Dental Town can start their own poll. Dental Town puts out a poll. So I've been polling dentists, and I've been watching the other dentists poll them forever, and so I really know what they're thinking. You know, I don't have a gut feeling. I mean, guts are filled with shit and fecal matter. If you know, I don't listen to I don't want to carry your opinion. I want to see data. And if you line up a bunch of dentists and said, what stresses you out the most? It's never going to be a root canal. It's never going to be an implant. It's always going to be all these people. They're always going to say, my staff, my God, my staff drive me crazy. And then if it's not the staff, the next up is the patients. So basically, what dentists are telling you is people stress you out. And when you look at people, what do they do after work? They get in their car and they roll up their window. They drive home, and then they open a secret little sliding Batman door and drive in and close it. And then they go in there and all the doors are locked. I mean, when you look at people, they all want to be in their own cave. You know, I mean, no one really has no. So how do you manage all these people and personalities and keep it functional and avoid the dysfunction?
Okay, so I don't do it alone. We have a very great setup. We have team leaders. So even though I might be the executive assistant to Dr. Schmidt, I also have team leaders that are below me that, Nicole is the hygiene team leader. And then we have Lindsay, who is the front office
Which one's Nicole?
Right there.
Okay.
And we have Lindsay, who's the front office team leader.
Which one's Lindsay?
Right here. And Ebony is assistant team leader. And they help with cascading messages. They help with, rolling out new ideas. So I can't do it alone. There's no way. Because like you said, it can drive people crazy if you have to manage so many people. So we have a very unique system, and it works really well for us. Just the way we communicate.
Who does the hiring and the firing?
Yeah, that'd be me.
Yeah. So that's okay. So everything you said was all politically correct and nice. You're giving all the credit to everybody. You're up there holding your Oscars, saying it was the writer and the director, and I was just Meryl Streep. I didn't do anything. And but the deal is, I go into dentist, and I always say when I see a dysfunction. I mean, imagine like if you were the owner of the Cleveland Browns. It's like, dude, you didn't win one freaking game. Who picked these 50 players? And he said, well, I did. Well, you suck. So a lot of dentists, it's a very important point, a lot of dentists are so miserable with their staff. And they don't realize that they're the general manager of the Cleveland Browns. And I say, well, who's hiring all these freaking people? Well, that would be me. Well, stop. You suck. And you should be able to see that, because seeing your thoughts is everything for a human. Like, if you see Tiger Woods and you're like, shit, I can do that. And you go out there and you do the drive and it goes to the next fairway, you can see that you suck at golf. And then you see Michael Jackson or Michael Jordan do the 3 thing, and every little boy in the world went to do that layup slam dunk and then realized, yeah, I bet his mom wasn't 5'1" fat Irish girl. So you can see that I'm not going to get into the Oklahoma Thunder, and Michael Jackson, greatest singer in the world, and then I sing. It's like, did I swallow a toad, or is that a frog, or the frick happened? So what does everybody do that they love things where you can't measure? Like they'll say, well, I'm not really good in math. I hate math. I'm not good in science. So what are they going to get good in? Things you can't measure, like art. They're an art critic, or they always get into something unmeasurable. Politics, philosophy, because they're never going to. Because when they say, "Well, I'm not really good in math," you notice how they always say, "I'm not good in math." They never say, "Well, I'm not very smart, so I went into art history." They just say, "I'm not. I don't like math." So the bottom line is, these dentists, you can see your employee turnover. And you can track it. And I have written several letters to the Federal Reserve where I want this on a stock system. Like when I'm looking at airline stocks, I would like to see how long the average airline keeps their employees. And then when say banking, for me, the quickest way to decide if I want to be in Bank of America, or Chase, or Wells Fargo, employee turnover is just huge. I don't know why that metric. It's the same thing when these dentists are buying a practice. They go into this town, say they go into Norman, Oklahoma, and there's 3 practices for selling. All 3 of them do. The average one, they do $750 a year in collections, and the dentist takes home $175. And well, these ain't 3 equal things. What if this office, the average employee's been there 2 years, this one the average employee's been there 4 years, and this one the average doctor's 6 years, and you're selling invisible? These are 3 different machines. Like, how long have you been on this team? 6 years. How about you?
5 years.
5 years. And they're both only 12. So that's pretty damn good. They haven't even reached puberty, and they've been there 5 and 6 years. So that's all you. That's all you. It's the person doing the hiring and firing. And you're telling me you're miserable, and then my next question out of my mouth is, well, how long has your average staff been on your team? Like my ops manager, Don, yesterday just celebrated her 17th anniversary. My accountant, Stacey's been there 20. Lori's my president, my girlfriend. We call him, I call her Batman Robin. Others call us Bonnie and Clyde. People who really know us call us Mickey and Mallory Knox. And but you can't build a great company when your longest employee's only been there 2 years. I mean, Lori's been there 20 years, Stacy's been there 20 years, my programmer, Dental Town, 20 years, Don, my ops manager, today's dental, 17 years. I don't have to micromanage that shit. And then people always talk about staff training. Well, I don't believe in staff training. I believe in stop your staff turnover. I mean, if the girl has a job, after 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20 years, she'll eventually learn it. Some girls will take 10 or 20, some can learn it in 2, but the problem is you put them in all these training, you put them in all these conventions, you take them to all these institutes, and then you fire them or they quit in a year or 2. It's just like, it just doesn't work. So if you are miserable at work, the thing you need to ask yourself is who's hiring all these freaking crazy people? By the way, which one at the table is the craziest?
I don't know.
Oh, is it a 9-way tie? Is it a 9-way tie? Yeah. And what's the most alcohol you've ever drank in after work?
None.
Really?
I don't drink.
So you smoke then, huh? Okay, all right. So then the next question they're going to ask is they're going to say, you know what? When you got an office and you got 3 dentists to feed, how many operatories you have?
7.
So then for 3 operatories, for 7 operatories for 3 dentists, you got to have extended hours.
We don't have extended hours. We don't. Well, so 2 of us will work maximum on the same day. So
2 of you will work maximum.
well, I guess the best way to say that is there are two dentists working most days. Never 3 dentists working on any.
You know
one
how
day.
many work in my office?
No.
About half.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you have 3 dentists. How many hygienists?
3.5.
3.5. And what are your hours then?
We're open, what would it be? Monday 7 to 3, Tuesday, Wednesday 8 to 5, and then Thursday, Friday 7 to 3. So definitely not extended hours. It's something we've looked at. We actually tried it in the past. We couldn't make it work.
Couldn't make what work?
We couldn't make the extended hours work with the current personnel and patient demand.
Yeah. And so let me get this again. So it's Monday,
Thursday, Friday 7 to 3.
Monday, Thursday, Friday, 7 to 3.
And then 8 to 5 on the other 2 days.
And then that'd be Tuesday and Thursday?
Wednesday.
Tuesday, Wednesday.
Oh, Tuesday, Wednesday?
No Saturday hours.
Is 8 to 5, no Saturday. So that's enough availability for OKC?
It's enough availability for our current business model.
Yeah. So then the next question they're all going to be asking is, what's working on patients? What's working on getting enough patients to feed 3 dentists?
We have to take really, really great care of the patients that we have and rely on really great word of mouth. We have a ton of Google reviews, average of 4.9. I think maybe we have 100 and we're pushing 120 Google reviews total. A lot of Facebook reviews. So we rely on our patients telling about their experience either on Google or Facebook or to their friends and family. And we do some really creative marketing as well, so external marketing.
I'm lucky. I'm very lucky on Google reviews because my parents were Catholic. I have 5 sisters. Between my 5 sisters and all their friends, almost every review I have is a blood relation.
We ought to try
and the only
that.
reason they review is because they get free dentistry. So I'm like, really, Shelly? I give you free crown and no review, bitch. And that's how you get reviews. Just call your sister a bitch. And so that is very profound because that is something that so a cottage industry is when no single player has more than 1%, and a mature industry is when 3, 4, 5 players have 80%. So you look in dentistry, it's the same as in wheat and corn and soybean. No one guy has 1%. Like the biggest dental office chain in America is Rick Workman at 800. Well, so there's 1,250. I mean, there's 125,000 general dentist offices, and there's 30,000 specialist offices. So just in general, there's 125,000 locations. You'd have to have 1,250 dental offices to have 1%. So no one makes 1% of the corn, the soybean, the dentist. And in those cottage industries, they're always psycho-obsessed with new patients, marketing, advertising, and they talk about the new patient experience. When you hear someone talk about the new patient experience, you would never hear Chase and Southwest Airlines saying, you know, we want new patients. I mean, if you haven't flown Southwest Airlines, has anybody at this table never flown Southwest Airlines? Has anyone? I mean, if you haven't flown Southwest Airlines or gone to Walmart or Target or Kohl's by now, you probably have a restraining order, against you and wear an ankle bracelet. So they all talk about the customer experience, and they don't talk about marketing. They talk about rewards programs and loyalty programs. Like when I checked in here, the first thing that lady asked me was, do I get my loyalty number reports? You know, same with Hertz Rent a Car. Everybody wants loyalty, and that's so cool how you're really big on the reviews, because that's social confirmation to selling the invisible.
Right.
I mean, that's why Amazon is taking off so much. Do you realize how that one of the core drivers of Amazon is simply the reviews? Yeah. So you're a girl and you want to buy this makeup or mascara, whatever the hell girls buy, but you get to see what all these other people are saying. And it just makes all the difference in the world, because you just want that review. So how are you generating so many Google reviews?
We use a software program, and we'll identify patients who might be great candidates to send a review to, either who are tech savvy or we know have had a great experience in the past. And we'll focus in on them in a morning huddle and say we're going to send them a review, and we do. We send them a text review. They can click on the button, takes them right to the site. We make it really easy and convenient for our patients to do so.
And what is that company? What text review?
They've changed names. They sold, what is it called? Podium? Podium. Yeah.
Podium.
Podium. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've done a podcast with Podium, haven't we? So Google reviews are huge, and then just getting people. I always say I can smell a successful office in like 1 second, because you either walk in and it feels just like the library, and the girl up front slides the window open, doesn't make eye contact, sign here. And you're like, wow, nice, glad to be here. You know what's funny about dental offices is they don't realize that, they say your hours aren't very available.
I agree.
Your hours are very unavailable. So a lot of people say, well, the reason Blockbuster went out of business and Redbox took over is because Blockbuster had limited hours, and Redbox is open 168 hours a week. And that is actually complete bullshit, because nobody ever was buying a movie for Redbox and said, I really miss Cheryl at Blockbuster. When the ATM machines came out, it wasn't just that they're open 24 hours a day, and they shouldn't be open 24 hours a day. I mean, like in Phoenix, Arizona, they don't sell alcohol from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. A friend told me.
Yeah.
And
not personal experience.
And when you're at an ATM machine at 2:30 in the morning, which you're on 500, it's nice. Howard, just go to bed, dude. You don't need $500 at 2:30 in the morning. You need to go home. I mean, they should close down the bars and the ATM machines at that hours. But the ATM machines didn't take over because of availability. Your hours aren't available. They took over because the ATM machine, you weren't missing the retail experience. Because when you look at, and the reason I keep saying girls, it sounds sexist, but girls spend 2/3 of all disposable income. I mean, go look at your own dad. I mean, who goes shopping, your mom or your dad? I mean, women spend 2/3 of all the frickin' money. It just is what it is. If you say that's sexism, it's actually algebra and calculus and math. And they call their experience retail therapy experience. And I'll give you an example. Like look at movie theaters. Every time a new technology comes out, they always predict at the end of movie theaters, oh, the VCR is going to kill the movies. And didn't. Then the DVD player came out, oh, it's going to kill the movies. Didn't. Then it's like Netflix, it's going to kill the movie. What the problem is, Mom wants to get the frick out of the cave. It's Friday night. She's been in this shithole all week. And it's called retail therapy. She just wants to get the frick out. She don't care if it's Target, Kohl's, and Walmart. She wants to get out. She wants to go to a movie. She just wants, she just wants out. So that's not going to change a million years from now. The movie, I mean, first they were 1881, they were silent. Took 40 years to add sound. And then it's the big screen, it's the drive-in, the VCR. It doesn't matter, the technology. And the dental offices that are crushing it, same thing with beauty salons. Their hair lady moves across town, and they drive 10 miles to go see her because it's a retail therapy. She's like, I just want to get, it's like my brother's gay. So when you have a gay brother, you get a lot of mani-pedis. And so, my brother's like, you want to go get a mani-pedi? And it's like, whatever. And so, it's always like some Vietnamese chick saying, would you like sea salt rubbed in your calves? And I was like, who the F ever wanted sea salt rubbed in their calf? I mean, how can you even ask that question with a straight face? I mean, it's like, do you have a head injury? Did your mom drop you? But why do women want sea salt rubbed in their calf? Not that there's some biological reason for this. It's therapy. She just wants out. She just wants, and who are the people excelling in that? They're the ones talking to her about her life and her 2 kids and your 3 kids, and they're all talking about you, which I find very annoying because she's down there clipping your toenails, asking like 500 questions, and it's like, I don't want to be here. What are you writing, an autobiography? I just don't get it. But the people that are crushing it with the consumers, they have a retail therapeutic environment where they just like, oh, I love it when Jolene cleans my teeth. I love the doctor. I love the front staff. And when they go in there and they just love it and they love the people, shit, it's $1 million business. But when they're coming in, it's just transactions. The consumer doesn't really care if you go from Blockbuster to a box. I mean, when you're getting your ass kicked by a box, you know what I mean? I mean, you kind of suck. And I think that, and then I think a lot of it is because of the abnormal natural selection of how they chose dentists. They chose all the dentists based on getting A's in algebra, geometry, and trig. And it's so insanely insane because dentist, I always tell this story about, the Pew wants to come out with dental therapists. And Pew's completely insane. I mean, they're insane. So typical liberalism, they say, well, we want to come out with a half doctor. So the first thing you do is you say, well, when you get sick, do you want to go to half doctor? Oh no, I'm going to Mayo Clinic because I'm special. We're talking about half doctors for the little people, the little dumb people that we control, not for people like me. It was like when Hillary and Bill, they were against private vouchers for private school. So then your first bullshit question is, well, where does your only child go? Oh, private school. Oh, but that's only because you're all that in a bag of chips. But the little people, they need to go to public school. They always have these mixed rules for everyone. And the dental therapists, so they say, well, the dental therapists, when they graduate, they're going to get on a canoe and go down the river to these tribes out in the middle of the fields and do dentistry on homeless people living in igloos. It's like, no, they're not. The bottom line is, why these counties don't have dentists? Is because you're accepted on your math skills. In math, algebra, physics, all this useless shit you never know. So there'll be a dentist in like a small town, I'll say, and he says, I can't find 2 hygienists because I'm 3 hours from Wichita, Kansas. So I say, go to your local high school, have an essay on why I want to be a hygienist, and whoever wins that, I mean, how much is hygiene tuition a year? How much was it? You don't remember because your dad paid for it.
Yes.
Actually.
Yeah, exactly. And if she paid for it, she'd remember. But anyway, so it's not that much money. And so then, these girls will do the essay, and I tell them just whoever writes the essay, they will win. If 3 people do, 3 winners. So then they apply to the hygiene school, and they don't get in because they didn't have a 3.95 grade point average in algebra and chemistry. So what they're saying is that small rural town, it's better they don't have a hygienist than a hygienist with poor algebra skills. And so if you accept the whole class with girls from Oklahoma City, No one's going to go into a town at 2,000. So Jack Gillenberg was the one that proved the whole world about that. He was the first dean at A.T. Still School. And he goes, the Indian reservations, they don't want a bunch of public health dentists that look like you and me to go down there. He says, they want to go to Navajos. He said, any Navajo that applies to my dental school, I'm accepting him. So for 10 years, what has he been doing? He's been sending Navajos back. And nobody sat there and said, well, let me see your geometry skills. And if you were Navajo, they have their own language. Would you rather go to a Navajo dentist who spoke your language and looked like you, or to some Irish drunk cracker like me? And who would you trust more? Whose face would you trust more if I said, well, you need a root planing and curettage as opposed to regular cleaning? So it's all about, Pew is completely misguided. They just keep thinking if they just keep exploding the supply, it'll push supply out into the deals. And there are two different mindsets in the world. Like, country people think the best way to raise a kid is to be in the country where he can go in the front yard and shoot a .22, .410, and ride a motorcycle down a dirt road when he's 8. And in the city, all that shit's illegal. Ask me how I know, because I was born in Wichita, raised 4 boys in Phoenix. I always had police officers driving me. Your kid was on a go-kart on a main street 5 blocks away. And it's like, did he have a problem with it? Well, he was in the church parking lot doing donuts. It's like, hey, church is on Sunday. This is Saturday. Why are you anal about everything? And then you're like, dude, it was a .410 shotgun. It wasn't a 12 gauge. It wasn't an automatic weapon. He shot a squirrel. And they're like, that's like, you go to jail shit for shooting a damn bird that if you didn't shoot it, it'd probably fly into your window the next second, break its own neck. So if you want rural doctors, accept rural people. But they don't accept rural people. And this is what grosses me out the most. Every time you read an article, California's the worst, because they got 6 dental schools. So every marketing piece from the marketing man will always come out, so today USC, which had the highest entrance exam freshman dental class, averaging 3.74 GPA. UAP was only 3.6, and those whores at Loma Linda were 3.25. What are they accepting now? Crack addicts? And so it's that U.S. News and World Report stuff. So they're all addicted to having the highest entrance. So if your metric is having the highest GPA of an entrance exam, because you're too racist to even realize that in the last 50 years, there's not one Navajo Indian dentist, and there's 17 different tribes in Arizona. These people need to put there's 9 specialties in dentistry, and they always want to talk about endo, perio, ped, prostate. Everyone talk about the 9th one, which is public health. And the public health it's the dean's fault that they're not accepting rural, they're not accepting kids from reservations. By the way, Oklahoma has a ton of reservations. Have you noticed that? I think Arizona and Oklahoma have the most amount of reservations. So when how many of your freshman class are Indians from the reservation?
I'd say none.
Yeah, none. Yeah, mighty white of you. And well, it's true. It's true. People don't like to talk about. I call mine Dentistry Uncensored. It's poor public health policy. And the other one that bothers me the most is the 8% of emergency room visits are because we didn't do our job. And I always tell dentists, if you can't pull a tooth and you can't do a root canal, give your license to someone that can. You know what I mean? Because otherwise they wake up at 3 in the morning and go to the emergency room. And the emergency room is also insane because you can go in there bleeding out your rear end and get colon cancer surgery, then cut your boobs off, arm off, leg off, cut a lime out of your head. But then when you get to the oral cavity, they're just like, well, what do we do? It's like, dude, you can do a heart transplant? You can't pull a bicuspid? Really? So it's limits. But hey, I just want to tell you, it's so amazing for you guys to come on the show. This show's gone crazy viral because they can't listen to radio anymore because radio's too toxic. No one wants to get on the radio and listen to an hour about Trump and Putin and Benghazi and email. It's just so toxic. By the time you get to work, you just want to give your own self a pulpotomy. So these podcasts are taking off. Podcast is killing radio. Some of these shows like the Joe Rogan podcast, the downloads on every show are insane. And they're driving to work or they're on the Stairmaster or the treadmill, and for you guys to come on and share your story and share your journey. I think it was very fun, very informative, and I want to thank all of you so much for coming on today and sharing your story.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
The honor was all mine.